Hi, MB.
Hi, Roy.
How are you?
I'm doing great, and we're kind of nerding out on how excited we are about this
I know.
episode.
Bone health is important, especially as we age.
Yeah, that's because it's connected to everything. It's independence, it's confidence,
From
mobility, the whole bit.
exactly from early warning signs to diagnosis. This conversation is going to be about maintaining strong bones.
Yeah, absolutely. So, welcome to the Great Take. Today, we're joined by Dr. Lisa Moore from Strong Bones Physical Therapy. Thank you for being here, Lisa.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, we're really happy to talk to you. But to kick off, can you just tell us a little bit about your business, what it is that you do?
Well, I'm a physical therapist. I have been for 30 years, doing many, many things. But in the last 5 years, I started to explore content on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
creating content for people to support osteoporosis. And what I found was there is not very much good information that they could rely
Mm.
on. And so people began to ask me for a lot of support and advice. And now I have my clinic. I had a clinic before, but my clinic 100% focuses on supporting people with low bone density and osteoporosis. The need was huge, and I identified it not only for my clients, but also for myself when I had a DEXA scan that showed low bone density. So it was confusing for me to sort out all the information, what people should do, what they should not do. And if it was confusing for me, I knew people needed more support and guidance and clarity. And so and the demand was tremendous. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I do this.
Oh,
I'm
incredible.
yeah. I'm kind of curious. When is a good age to do a low or what is that? Low bone.
The
What did you
bone
say?
Oh,
density
yeah,
Bone.
yeah.
test?
Sorry. What is a good? Let me rephrase that then. What is a good age to do a bone density test?
Yeah, I love that question. So the current guideline is age 65 for women, which many people in this space are now saying this is really late. So
Mm.
we reach our peak bone density like late teens, early 20s. That's our peak amount of bone density. And then we can stabilize that for a long period of time, for many years, until we hit perimenopause, and then we start to see a decline. So this could be in the 40s. So general recommendations now, especially if anyone is at high risk, has a family history of low bone density or osteoporosis, is to be having a conversation with their doctor to get a DEXA scan. That's a type of scan that measures bone density earlier. So to me, if we can get one before menopause to know where we are
Hmm.
and to know how to take action sooner than later, that's a good idea.
Let's start at the beginning. I mean, we,
Yeah.
we both have what we think we know about osteoporosis. Can you just tell us what it is and
Mm-hmm.
just let's go back and break it down a little
Yeah.
bit because we
Yeah.
really don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, let's back up. So osteoporosis is a change in the density and that is how much, and in the architecture, how it's arranged of bone. So it's a change in normal bone metabolism. What is normal bone metabolism? Well, that means that we're constantly creating new bone cells and letting go of old bone cells. And if that pace of turnover of new cells and old cells is stable, then bone density stays the same. And we can think of bone density, how much bone we have, kind of like the hair on our head.
Mm.
If we have a really thick head of hair, that's a lot of hair. So that's strong bone density. But if it's beginning to thin and we have less hair, well, that's lower bone density. We can see more porousness or more holes or space in the bone that make it more vulnerable for fracture. But the other component of that is, how is that bone arranged? Is it arranged in a way that is strong, like the mechanics of a bridge? The beams are arranged to make the bridge strong. Or is it arranged in a way that's degrading the strength of that bone? So it's the same thing with hair. If my hair is thinning, well, sometimes I can arrange it in a way to make it look a little bit better.
Hmm.
Or sometimes it can be arranged in a way that we can really see the thinning. So that arrangement is the strength as much as the density is the amount. So osteoporosis means we're losing some of that density and we're losing some of that strength. And in the big picture, that means we're at risk for a fracture.
Mm.
It's the fracture that matters to somebody that has osteoporosis. Because if you never fracture, it doesn't change your life. It's preventing a fracture that is the highlight of what I do and how I help educate people. It's that risk for a fracture that can result in hospital stay. It can result in a change of living situation, and 1 out of every 2 women post-menopause will experience one of these osteoporotic fractures in their lifetime. 1 out of every 2. So that means of the 2 of us sitting here that are female, it
Oy.
could happen to one of us.
Well,
Yeah.
Right?
where do they experience those fractures? What's most common, like knees, hips, or is it from a fall? Like, could you explain
Yeah, yeah.
where that happens the most?
So the majority of fractures, and this is the part that I think is most important to understand because we can really do something about this. But the majority of fractures, 80 to 90% of the fractures that happen because of a fall.
Mm.
Because they happen because of a fall, often we're going to put our hand out to stop that fall. So maybe it will be a wrist fracture, or it'll be a landing onto the hip and will be a hip fracture. And the other fractures that will happen will be compression fractures in the spine. So the vertebra will compress and collapse a little bit and incur a fracture there. Sometimes it can be from lifting something without like the best body mechanics or strength to support the spine when we're lifting. But falls are by far the main reason someone will fracture. Spine, hip, and wrist are the most common areas.
Yeah,
Wow.
that makes a lot of sense. So is someone diagnosed with, okay, I have osteoporosis? Is there like, a day when you quote have it? Like it sounds like kind of a gradual deterioration or condition, but like are you diagnosed with it?
Yeah, it is a diagnosis, and it is that is so true because often people will, have their exam and their doctor. They're age 65, they get their DEXA scan. They've been living their life blissfully, doing all the things they love, and suddenly they get this diagnosis of osteoporosis and suddenly feel fragile and fearful and afraid to
Fear.
do these activities.
Oh,
It
wow.
does really affect your psyche when you think, can I trust my body? Can I trust my bones? And so it didn't happen overnight. That is what I try to remind people. You just got this information. You received this information about your bones, and that changed kind of how you need to think about it. But this was a very slow and gradual process that happened over time. That becomes this cycle of challenge when we have the fear of movement. And so we stop moving, we become weaker, we are balanced, it becomes worse. And then our risk for falls go up versus engaging in an exercise program to improve our confidence and improve our balance and our strength and even our bone density.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so how do you address that? You have someone who maybe has had a fall or is
Mhm.
fearful of a fall. How do you say, all right, but we have to do this we have to work or it's gonna happen. This is how we prevent it. How do you cross that bridge right there?
Sure,
Fear
sure.
bridge.
You know, Crossing the fear bridge is important. And I think, in my years of doing this and helping people, one of the first ways is with knowledge. Having knowledge and education about what you can do. And sometimes those simple things you can do are looking at nutrition. And sometimes it's just how to move in a little bit smarter way. It doesn't have to be a big step. So, meeting people where they are, showing them these few simple things can help you feel more confident when you're on your feet, with the goal always being, I want you to keep doing the things you love. I want you to keep doing what you enjoy. If it's dancing, we want you to have the strength and mobility to dance confidently and not worry about falling. If it's how you engage with your grandchildren or playing pickleball, I want people to still have the ability to do what they love with the people they love. And so taking small steps changes fear. Taking small steps to improve balance and strength and posture absolutely can transform the fear.
But as far as prevention goes, what are some practical things that people can start doing to strengthen and protect their bones right now? Like, what would help them? Is it diet? Is it stretching? Is it getting what? I mean, what was the old saying, like, make sure you drink a lot of milk.
That's
You know?
sort of where my
Yeah,
mind goes, is
yeah,
that
yeah,
you always hear about, I think my pop used to even say it to me when I was younger, because I didn't like to drink milk. Drink your milk or you'll get osteoporosis. And I mean, I
yeah,
was 16 or something,
yeah.
but
Wow, your pop was progressive.
you know, he was a nutrition
But
guy. And then,
now it's like kind of anti-milk. There's a lot of anti-milk type stuff going on.
right.
So,
So is
but
it calcium in
yeah,
other ways,
what
or
would be a
yeah,
good prevention stuff? Yeah,
yeah, prevention
Love it.
regarding diet? Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the overarching theme is it's a comprehensive approach, right? It's
Okay.
not really any one thing, but there's lots of things to look at. So if we want to know clear action steps people can take, it can start with nutrition and lifestyle. So smoking is a risk. Smoking and excessive alcohol intake are risks for low bone density.
Oh,
So
I didn't know.
someone
I
can.
didn't know. I hadn't heard of the smoking thing with
Oh,
bones.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Smoking,
Okay.
it definitely increases risk for osteoporosis and fractures.
Mm.
So quitting smoking or a smoking cessation plan would be really critical. And when we look at nutrition, a lot of it is a combination of things. We need adequate calcium every day. Our body tightly regulates our calcium. It's important in so many functions. And if we're not taking in enough calcium in our diet, well, it'll steal it from our bones. Our bones is a warehouse,
Ooh.
a storage place for all the calcium in our
Oh,
body. So if we're not getting enough in our diet, our body will take it from bones to maintain this very tight regulation.
I didn't know
And
that.
Hmm.
what
Did
I,
you know that?
Nope.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
well, and this is important too, because we'll give calcium blood tests. People have their calcium tested in their physical, and it will say normal. But normal calcium blood test does not mean enough nutritional calcium in your diet. It just means your body's doing its job of maintaining a healthy calcium level.
Oh, I see. But
So
they're not showing the piece that it's
it,
being
it
pulled from the
taken from
bones
bone,
and.
right? So getting enough calcium in our diet, which for women over 50 is 1,200 milligrams per day. And 1,200
Okay.
milligrams should be
Yeah.
divided up throughout the day because we really can only absorb so much at a time. So taking 1,200 milligrams of a supplement in the morning isn't cutting it. So spreading it out to about 500 milligrams per dose, or spreading it out throughout the day so that we actually absorb what we get in. And from
Mm.
food sources are best, including dairy sources. So food sources are preferred over supplements like a calcium citrate or a calcium carbonate. So as much as possible, getting it from food, and a large variety of foods can really meet this. Vitamin D, having adequate vitamin D is really important. So we need to have a good vitamin D level in our blood. That vitamin D helps us actually absorb the calcium. So it's kind of like transport. It helps that calcium that we're eating get transported into our circulatory system so that it can help go where it needs. As well as vitamin K2 is another vitamin that
Mm.
Hmm.
helps that
Yeah.
calcium in circulation actually get directed to bones and teeth. Yeah. So calcium and vitamin D are critical. They're important parts of that, but so is protein. So what we know about bone loss is bone loss and muscle loss happen together. Osteosarcopenia is the fancy word that happens as we age, that we're losing both of those things at the same time if we're not addressing it, if we're not doing things to preserve our muscle mass. And to me, muscle mass and strength is the cheat code to successful aging, truly, truly. But we have to have protein. We have to have protein in the diet to maintain our muscle and maintain our bone, because bone is like 50% protein by volume. 50%. It's the structure that all these minerals adhere to that give the bone its strength. So if you want to build strong bone, we have to have the right building blocks, which is protein and calcium and other minerals.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. So
Well,
is it hard to I just, for the protein thing, that's just such a big topic of discussion these days. It seems like all of a sudden, like the requirements are higher. Like it's hard to get all that calcium and all that protein in a daily diet, don't you think? Or is it not? If you just need to plan it, maybe have an interesting protein drink, or how do you do it? How do you get all
I,
that?
I think it is achievable when we have the right knowledge, when we
Mm.
understand what foods contain, when we can look at, how much is in this normal sized chicken breast, or how much is in this piece of salmon. And if we are intentional in how we look at what is breakfast, and is breakfast just a carb loaded session, or are we including protein options in our breakfast? So if we really are intentional about looking at what foods contain protein and what foods contain calcium, and we have that variety, I think it's pretty achievable in most cases.
Well, this is a really interesting topic to me because I struggle with the balance. Like, how do I balance that out? How do I get really good protein that's still good for my body, that's not going to cause any problems because I don't eat dairy, sugar, or meat? So, I don't know. You have any suggestions for people like us out there? People
Oh,
like me
yeah.
out there is a better way of saying it. Yeah.
Well, there's actually a lot of folks that do whole foods, plant-based,
Yeah.
and get all the calcium they need through
Hmm.
foods.
Okay.
That's not the track that I follow, but
Yeah.
I do know that that's absolutely possible. So tofu is one good example.
Yeah.
Sesame seeds.
Mm-hmm.
There's many options that are plant-based, but it is just it's an intentional thing about how to look about getting enough and making sure that you incorporate that in your foods. You're eating some seafood, so some of the sardines and the canned salmon and
Yeah.
the things that contain bones actually have a really high amount of calcium in them.
Good.
Here's another one. Gerolsteiner mineral water, naturally occurring calcium in mineral water. I'm
I didn't
not
know that.
promoting them. I'm not an advertiser for them.
Yeah.
I have no affiliation or relationship, but they have like 300 milligrams in a half a liter or liter. It's a really an easy way for people to, one of those a day can be a nice, like simple way to boost your calcium at any given time.
So tell us, Lisa, about brick house bones.
Well, Brickhouse Bones is designed after the Three Little Pigs story.
Ah,
So one of the things it's true. People often ask me where it's coming, but
Yeah.
it's really about this intentional, comprehensive effort. Having Brickhouse Bones is not a quick fix. It's not a short solution so that you can hurry up, take a pill, and then run out and go play with your friends like the pig that did the straw house and the stick house, right?
yeah.
We have to take these consistent, regular steps. And all of the research tells us that it's not about the perfect exercise, but the consistency of doing it over time that makes the biggest difference. So Brickhouse Bones is based on evidence on the research for bone health exercise that includes doing resistance training.
Mm.
So strength training so that we can keep our muscles strong and do the things we need to do. We have the physical capacity to do the things we want to do. It's about balance training, so dynamic balance to help reduce our risk for falls. That ability to recover quickly from a fall. It is or potential fall. It's about power and impact. So can we move with a little more speed and intention? Can we move quickly? Are we able to jump? Not everyone is, but that would be important. I don't really care how old you are. We should all be able to do that. And it's about posture, using exercises to improve our posture, because postural strength reduces some of the stress on the areas of our spine that might be vulnerable to fracture. And so I put that together, those principles, those evidence-based principles are packaged together to meet people at different levels. So I have level one is a program for beginners, very much beginner. You don't need exercise experience. You just need to be able to get up out of a chair and walk without an assistive device. And you can do this level one program for
Okay.
beginners. And it's transformative what people say and how they change in their strength and confidence. We have a level two program does the same thing, and then level three for people that I identified with, like in 50s that are still active, that want to really do an exercise that feels like they got something really accomplished. They don't want to be talked down to or treated like they're frail. They still want to do high intensity exercise. So I try to have a program that could meet every person where they are and give them the challenge that they need.
Oh, that is absolutely fantastic. And is there? I'm curious if something that I learned a couple of months ago. A friend asked me if I could get up without using my hands up off
Oh
the
yeah,
floor.
like with
Do
your
you,
feet.
yeah, I actually
Yeah.
did it this morning.
Nice.
I is that something that you think is important? If someone did, not had a like a fall with an injury, but maybe found themselves on the ground. Is that an important thing to know? How to get up?
Well, yes, our ability to have the strength to get on and off the floor is critical, and I think we should be able to have that ability well into our 80s and 90s, and older. I don't. It's that mobility and strength. Being able to get on and off the floor with ease is important, no question.
So let's say Roy and I were like, oh yeah, we're a little creaky. Like, when's a good time to work with a specialist or a physical therapist? Do you think?
I mean, for osteoporosis?
For yeah, prevention of like, when do you say, oh gosh, I think maybe I need to up my game and you know, really, like, if you have a concern, like, when does a physical therapist come in? Is it after an injury, or is it you know, you want to
Well,
learn preventing an injury?
yeah, I think if someone is concerned about getting osteoporosis, maybe they have a family history and they just received their DEXA scan, or they have a parent that fractured. Maybe they don't know their bone density, but they're concerned because they have a parent that has had issues.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good time to start to get education right away. It's a good time to learn for what to look for, such as losing a considerable amount of height might be an early warning sign. To see a physical therapist, maybe to learn how to exercise. If you don't know how to do resistance training, if you've always only done aerobics and Pilates class, but you haven't done resistance training for your muscle, and you want to make sure you do it safely, work with someone who has the qualifications to train you. And that could be a PT, an exercise physiologist, personal trainer, but
There you
someone
go,
that can
personal
show you the
trainer.
right way to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If someone has had a fracture, someone has had a
Mm,
fracture, that to me is a sign where you should really, one, if you had a fracture and you don't know your bone density, and your fracture happened in what we call a fragility fracture, which that means a fall from a standing height that results in a fracture. Any fall from a standing height. And that's not a fall off a bike or off a horse or off a ladder. It's a standing height fall. We shouldn't fracture. So if that's happened, we should ask for a bone density test.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's happened, we should ask to work with a professional to help support our bone
There you
density.
go.
To me, that would be a really critical time to ask for that kind of support.
That's really really important. Well, I'm wondering. Okay, so if you or someone you know has been diagnosed with osteoporosis, then what does managing that look like? Are you know, it's just critical to be, you know, have an exercise routine, and it's critical
Hmm.
to know these
Hmm.
amounts of calcium and protein you
mm-hmm.
need. Like,
Hmm.
what does managing it look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question and thought, and because that's what we do, we are managing it. We need this kind of toolbox of things that become this comprehensive approach. I outline it, so I have a workshop called Journey to Fracture Proof that spells what I'm going to share out to you in a
Mm,
90-minute lecture. Um, on what does it mean to be at risk for fracture, and what is your risk, because risk can be low risk, moderate, or high, and what activities we choose to do may be different depending on where we sit on that test, and that's based on an algorithm of risk factors. So understanding what our risk is part one,
mm-hmm.
and then knowing, well, how can we address the nutritional factors like we talked about earlier?
Mm-hmm.
What supplements really matter? And this is just one phase of it. Are we absorbing, you talked about, your gut health, and are we actually absorbing what we're
Right.
taking in? Because if we're not, then we need to look at that as well. I think working with your physician to know, what are your labs? Are there any other concerns for underlying causes? And then cleaning up some of the things that may not be supportive in our diet. One thing would be brown colas. So brown colas,
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
um,
Roy's looking at
she
me,
had one for
Lisa.
lunch.
Lisa,
She had one for
I'm a
lunch.
Diet
I'm ratting you
Coke.
out. Totally ratting you out right
I'm
now.
a Diet Coke addict. This is bad, huh? This is not
well,
good.
brown colas contain phosphoric acid, which can increase the calcium in our urine. So it can lead to more breakdown. So brown colas, especially in excessive amounts, are not the best choice. Clear colas are a better choice, or
Hmm.
sparkling waters or things like that. But same with like smoking and alcohol, highly processed foods, things that may contribute to underlying inflammation. So underlying inflammation affects a lot of things, including our bones, our brain, our muscles, our joint health, all of that. And optimizing our nutrition and healing our gut is a good first step. And then we need to learn the right type of movement. We need to understand movements that may be risky And I don't want to make people afraid of movements if they have low bone density, but there are smarter ways to move to reduce risk. Like if you've done yoga and you bend over and you do a forward fold and you're fully rounded over and you do that repeatedly, if you're a person with osteoporosis, that might be risky. That's considered
Oh,
something
Mm.
we should modify if we have low bone density. So instead, we just do that bend with soft knees and a straight spine, moving through
okay.
the hip instead of the back. So when we think about lifting, we think about heart up. So we have that better posture when we need to lift, push, and pull things. So movements that help us to be safer is a management strategy. Learning how to move smarter. Just not trying to be afraid or fearful of moving, but just how to move smarter to reduce our risk. And then can we improve our balance? Is our balance as good as it
Yeah,
needs to be? And
that's important.
not just tree pose standing on one leg. When we fall, we don't fall when we're standing still. We fall when we're moving, when we're distracted, when our
Mm-hmm.
head turns, or if we
Mm-hmm.
have vestibular or inner ear issues, or we have things in our hands. So we need to train balance in a dynamic way. One of the studies on balance training says that if you're doing balance training and it's easy, like you can just maintain that position no problem, you're not getting better. We need to do balance training that challenges us so that at least
Oh,
30% of the time we fail. At least 30% of the time we have to take a step. That's balance training that creates change. If it doesn't challenge us, it doesn't change us.
there you go. My mom was not diagnosed with osteoporosis, but she was very inclined to fall,
Hmm.
I'm wondering how to support someone who has this risk, whether it's osteoporosis or just just general strength, without nagging them.
Oh, yeah, that's great. I mean, I think it is a very much a choose your battles sort of thing. My mom lives in an assisted living facility. She's 93.
Okay.
She has
Nice.
Parkinson's disease. She won't do it if I say it. But I have a
Ah,
wonderful person that I trained that goes in and exercises with her 3 days a week. And she loves this. This person gives her attention and time. And I showed her what exercises to do. And my mom gets ready every day to meet with this person. It's like she has this concierge exercise person to go with her.
this is
And
huge. I think this is our aha moment right there. It's like
mhm,
you're not going to win by being the one to tell or to nag. You got to
Yeah.
get an outside source
Yeah.
for any number of issues, but
mhm.
Yeah.
especially this. Get an
Yes, and
expert.
then I get to be the daughter, not her PT
Exactly.
and not
Yeah.
her
Which is a
practitioner,
big
right?
difference. Big
And then I
difference.
get to say, I'm
Yeah.
so proud of you. You did so good. And at 90, I'm proud to say for her, because she's been doing this for the 3 years, she hasn't had any new falls. She's really stable. She's maintaining her strength. And it's
Oh
all
my
because
gosh.
it's 3 times a week that she does this very simple but weight bearing exercise program.
Mm. I
Yeah.
want to circle back to something about prevention. Um, I have a friend, and I've known her for a really long time, and her aunt has osteoporosis. She's really curved. It's pretty
Mm,
bad. And so, but I've known her like I said, for a really long time, and so she's like, so she's starting to have a little bit of that curve,
mhm.
but she's known this like for like over 20 years. So my question is, if there's a family member that you see that has this, it's in the family, is there anything that you can do when you're young to start doing something to prevent that from happening to you? And it's not just sitting up straight. There just has to be ways. Like if I saw, it's like I may end up like that. I need to start doing something like that. I'm sorry, not doing something like that. I need to start exercising, eating right, doing something to prevent me becoming like that. Is there something that, like, if you were seeing that, is there something that you would do that you would want to tell people to be like, if there's someone in your family that has this, what could I do to prevent that from happening?
Okay,
Does
great.
that make sense?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a two-pronged answer here. So one, awareness is key. Awareness
Right.
is key. So, well, I would recommend your friend get a bone density scan now.
Right.
Okay. Knowledge is power. Let's know where you are. And then the comprehensive approach is let's optimize your nutrition. Let's make sure you're getting enough calcium and protein and vitamin D. And let's get you started on doing exercises because you're right. It's not just as simple as I'm going to hold my shoulders back. We have to strengthen those muscles and start resistance training now. And if she's younger, like you
Not
and I all
anymore.
are, we're younger. But start deliberate resistance training. That has to happen. If she can begin to do this now, including a gradual progression to impact exercise like jumping. We know that has a powerful effect on stimulating bone. And then for women that are not yet menopausal or just very recently perimenopause, menopause, hormone therapy discussions with their provider can change it, because estrogen, when estrogen leaves, bone resorption, that resorbing of old bone, increases faster than new bone can keep up. So hormone therapy can be a game changer for women in that phase. So definitely there's things we can do. Okay,
Okay.
part two. We can do all the right things, and genetics can play a bigger role. We can still get
Mm.
osteoporosis, even though we've been lifelong of healthy eating, of doing all the right exercises and doing all the right things. You can still develop osteoporosis. It's not your fault. It can be a very genetic component. But all of those things reduce your risk for fracture. And if we don't fracture, it doesn't have to change our life. I think that's really key. People say, I did all the right things, I still got it. It would
Mm.
be so much worse if you
If
hadn't.
you didn't do all that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I need to pass that on because the go-to was always her mom would say, just sit up straight.
Mm.
Just sit up
Yeah,
straight.
yeah,
That's it. You know, like you're hunching like your aunt, so sit up straight. And I was like, to me, it was like, there's got to be more to this. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
she's 47, 48. And
Mm.
so I do see that curve beginning, you
It
know.
can change. It can change. It
So
can
she still
improve.
has time to change that.
Bet.
That's great.
I've had many clients doing my virtual programs, because I have them measure their height. I have them measure their height every month because
Oh,
that's a self-assessment tool. But
Okay.
they start to do some of these postural strengthening exercises, some of these lengthening and decompression exercises, and they're gaining height in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. They're gaining height.
Wow.
So, and that's not because
That's
they
rare.
suddenly got taller, but because they lengthened their body where it was really
Hmm.
tight or really restricted.
oh, that's super super encouraging.
That is
I,
encouraging. There's one more thing I want to ask as we move forward here. Bone health exercises. What are those? Like, can you express like some things that we can do? Because I need help in that area. Just a few examples would be fantastic.
Sure, let's break it down. Weight bearing. So things we do on our feet with load: squats, deadlifts,
mm-hmm.
step ups, uh, shoulder presses, pressing overhead. So that's
Okay.
going to load the body with weight, axial loading through the skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
Things where we pull or push, reaching, those are lunges, all those weight bearing things
Yeah.
with loads, because it's as much the exercise as the effort behind it. And it can work at moderate intensities, like where we're doing higher repetitions. If we don't want to lift heavy weights, that's okay. It still has to be how much effort at the end of the day that went into that. It can also work at high intensity. So you're doing heavier weights, but maybe 5 repetitions per set. So all of these things are going to cause force where the muscle is tugging on the bone, telling the bone it needs to be stronger, but also the load of the weight on your skeleton is telling the bones it need to be stronger.
Okay.
And then the other type of exercise is impact, jumping, stomping. That force when you jump and
Yeah.
land, or when you push off the ground really firmly. Those are ground reaction forces that are compressing our bones, telling bones are smart. They're like, oh, if you challenge me like that, I need to get stronger. And they do.
That is so
It's
interesting. The
brilliant.
jumping. I wasn't thinking
Yeah.
about the
I
jumping.
never thought about that either. But
Yeah.
there's one thing that's the huge fad right now that's been going on for a long time, or I don't know how long, is the weighted vest when people are running and walking. Now, with a backpack, which is what I was, done forever in hiking and everything, your weight's being, you're being pulled back. But with a weighted vest, is it, because I haven't done it, are you being pulled forward? Is your chest, are your shoulders being rounded? Is your back kind of curving as you're running and walking? Is it good for you or is it bad for you?
Yeah, great question, because it is super trendy
It
and
is.
really visible. I don't wear weighted vests, and I do not recommend weighted vests to any of my clients. The research on how beneficial they are for bone isn't really robust in any way, and all the
Hmm.
research included exercise. So it's not as good a way. So you think about a vest, maybe the heaviest vest someone would wear might be 15 pounds. But when I have somebody working out in the gym, they might have 15 pounds in each hand. So that
Mm-hmm.
vest just isn't enough of a stimulus to do it. I'd rather they did targeted resistance training. And then some people shouldn't wear a vest. Some people who have other spine conditions and whatnot shouldn't be running around with extra load on their spine all the time. I think a weighted vest or a rucksack is a good example of specificity of training. If you need to train to go backpacking, well, it's a good idea to practice carrying a load on your back.
Well, so Lisa, what does a healthy aging look like when you're taking care of your bones? When you've got, does that mean you get to do more things? You have less pain? Like what does that look like?
Gosh, this is great. I love this is what I love about what I do. You know, the messages that I receive from clients. So one client in her 80s that was after her diagnosis, afraid to move, afraid to exercise. So she stopped doing everything. That's what people tell me. I just stopped doing everything and I don't know what to do. So she came back, several weeks later and is like, I can go up and down the stairs with ease now. I'm carrying my laundry with no problem. I feel confident enough to get on a plane and go visit my grandchildren. Everything is so much easier, she said. So that was one example. Another example of people that are traveling, often these folks are retired and they want to be able to enjoy all this hard years of work that they did. So they're taking trips and traveling and doing hikes that they never imagined that they could do before because they didn't have the strength. Or they're engaging with their grandchildren. Like some of them said, I didn't think I could do that trip to this theme park and get around everywhere and keep up with everyone, but I did just fine. And I could get step on and off the rides and the platforms. I mean, they're just thrilled to stay engaged. This is what we want to do, right? If you want to play pickleball or golf or travel or however that activity is in your life, we don't want to lose that as we get older. I don't. I'm going to go out kicking and screaming.
Yeah. You want to be mobile and
Yeah.
independent. And my mom-in-law couldn't go up a flight of stairs like for the good last decade of her life. It impacted a lot of things. We would make choices. Yeah, we can't go to that restaurant, or we can't. Oh dear, there's no parking here. We're gonna have to go somewhere else. Like that thought to me is like kind of what it's all about.
Right. And their world gets so much smaller, right? We just don't
Right.
want, as we age, I don't want my world to get smaller. We want to keep it as big as
Mm-mm.
possible, as long as possible. And that's, yeah, all those options you talk about. Every single thing you have to think about where you go and what you do. Can you
Right,
do it? Yeah.
right. Well, we want to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So, gosh,
Yeah.
we got some things to do, don't we?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing your expertise with us today. I mean it. We're looking forward to it, and I think we've gotten a lot out of it. I hope our listeners have as well.
Yes, and before you go, we would love for you to plug everything that you have online, social media, all that stuff, because you have a lot of programs, apparently have a lot of followers,
Yeah,
all
tell
this
us
stuff. So
where
please
people,
tell us so everybody can hear like all that you provide.
where can people find you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have over 500 free videos on YouTube. So if people are looking for free resources, I have videos for beginner, intermediate, and advanced folks that anyone can access on YouTube. It's Dr. Lisa Moore DPT on YouTube. It's also the same for my Instagram and Facebook. On my website, drlisamooredpt.com, I think the thing that I have that is of the most value is the workshop Journey to Fracture Proof, because I really break down what I needed to know on the research. What are the exact steps I need to take? How do I do it? What are the specifics? So it clears out the noise. So that workshop, I think, is a great tool that someone can take. They can take it to their trainer or their PT and say, help me do this. It really gives people the information they need so that they can take action like on day one. And then if people want exercise programs that are guided and structured, all of those are available on my website and my membership platform, where I get to meet with people via Zoom. That's what I did right before I call, and supporting people. They ask questions just like we did, and they can get those answered and feel confident and keep moving forward.
Well, we really appreciate all the great information. Thank you again for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed this. Appreciate it.
what I loved about having Dr. Moore as a guest today was everything that she educated us in bone health density. Really didn't know that much. It was really kind of blowing my mind. I didn't want to stop talking to her.
No, I know. I didn't know the things like, that if you don't get enough calcium in your body through nutrition or supplements or whatever, that it pulls from your bones. So that's helping to deteriorate them. I love that she brought up the piece about hormone replacement therapy for women in their 40s and 50s, because that was something women were really not doing for really 20, 25 years. And to replace estrogen now seems like it's really key to bone health. And she brought up some amazing points. I learned a lot.
Yeah, it was great. And if you have a loved one that you're concerned about that has bone density concerns or health or issues, all this other stuff, please reach out to us and share your story. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. You can text us or leave us a message at 833-473-9898.
And if this episode helped, you learned a lot from it, please subscribe and leave us a review. It helps our podcast in many ways. Thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you, Roy.
Thank you, MB. It's always a pleasure to see you.
The views and opinions shared in this episode are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Brookdale Senior Living. This content is for informational purposes only and isn't intended as financial or medical advice or an endorsement of any position or product discussed. Always talk to a qualified professional before making decisions about your health, finances, or the care or finances of a loved one based on something you've heard in this program. Brookdale is not responsible for the accuracy or completeness of the information shared.